I'd be following a mood board. This was rough, this was raw, this was on the street photography, but...
And I've thought about this question for a long time, and longer than I really care to admit, to be honest, because for most of my career, there'd always been something between me and the camera. You know, something in front of the lens, a light, a brief, a mood board, or a picture that I'd already formed in my head based on those elements before we'd even begun. And I told myself that was craft, but you know, really, it's not craft. Because somewhere along the way, I started to wonder whether the picture in my head was actually doing the scene for me, and whether I was arriving at every shoot already halfway finished because I knew what I wanted. And if the person in front of me was really the person they intended to be, or did I really give them chance to be that personality? Field note number 2 is all about going out and freestyling. So in this field note number 2, I'm giving you the insight into the pictures, my mind process, what I thought, and I wanted to share that with you.
You know what, there's a particular kind of quiet that you get from when you're going out on spec and you're working with a subject on a personality shoot. And if you're going without a plan, it's not a peaceful quiet that you get when you realise what you're doing. So this picture here is Millie. She's going from the bottom to the top on the underground. It's obviously an escalator. And I just spotted the moment. There was a bit of interest behind, and that was great, but it wasn't crammed. So I thought, how do I get around this? So I threw my 24-70mm lens wide open, so f2.8, and I increased the ISO to about 1600, and so I could blur out that background and really get the light to work on her. And it's quite an interesting shot because she's totally engaged with something else and not me, and that's the secret of this shot, is that there's no hidden agenda. I'm not directing her, and she looked up there and she engaged with it, and as soon as she engaged, I got 2 or 3 shots. So image 2, this shot of Millie is obviously on the underground again, and I decided to go black and white with this and monochrome with it because of the leading lines. You can actually see the leading lines all working behind her head here, and because of that, it creates a really good point of interest. You can see the travelators, the escalators, all going in a certain perspective behind her, so you've got a viewpoint which really works. And I reeled off probably about, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 shots, and it was just there, and I decided this was monochrome. If it was a busy location, trying to get the shot out of her wouldn't have worked, but it just happened to work because we started at the bottom of the travelator and we worked all the way to the top, and we just happened to wait for a break, get on, and by the time we got up so far, there just wasn't anybody on there, and it made that difference. We tried it 3 or 4 times, went round, back down, round and back down to get that look. So in image 3 here, what's interesting to note is that even when she was moving around from platform to platform on the underground, there was a refusal to be hurried by London and the city streets. She just did her own thing. She knew exactly what she wanted from this shot, but I didn't want to interact that much, so it was just gentle persuasion. I hadn't asked her really to perform an act for me. I waited, and I waited even longer, just for moments, and I'd just give her a gentle bit of direction that allowed her just to distract her gaze from me to do something that was meaningful, slightly low angle, and then here we've got this beautiful ambient light that's coming down, and it's just illuminating her perfectly. A frame strengthens when you let the subject settle in that space. So when you let the subject settle in the space, the frame becomes stronger, and this is what allows you to create authentic pictures. Let the frame rest, let the picture resolve, and you'll get something a lot better than normal. We're en route to a location. We've obviously designated an area that we want to go to, and then what she's doing is she's just engaged in the moment of being on the train, and I've just stood there with the camera like this. I don't think I even focused it. I pre-shot to get some idea of where she was looking and just kept it like that, and when she totally zoned out, I just took these shots. And you know, the takeaway from this is when the world compresses around your subject, keep the intention simple so the frame can breathe. There's nothing more simple about this shot. The lady in London, her personality is coming out. You can see it starting to emerge. So this shot is what I call the colour that couldn't hold her. So you've got really busy colours going on. You've got a lovely warm coat. You've got the yellow bag that's striking, the ice cream. You've got the red bus in the background that defines that it's London city centre. In fact, it was Oxford Street. And it captivates and captures the London story. The city is doing what it's meant to be. It's a daily process. And she's stood there and she's taken a moment to have a vape. And then when I caught her, she started to laugh, and that's the picture that I shot. I didn't get her to pose. I decided that in black and white, it was far stronger. It was far stronger in terms of the way the light looked. So what I've done in this image here is I've now made it monochrome. It's neutralised all of that competitiveness of the colours in the background, the red bust, the yellow bag and the people's top and her top as well. And it's allowed you to focus more on the face, on her as a subject. That magical moment where she's toying with you because she knows that she's having a little moment to herself and you've caught her out. So she's, captured that shot, and I really love this one as well. This was a very simple shot. I said, why don't you just get into the telephone box? I'm not going to give you any prompts or anything like that. Just get in there and see what happens. Then I noticed this moment where she was staring out once again at something else that was going on. That was a shot for me. It's colourful, it's warm, it matches the lipstick. The colour of her coat blends in with the blue. There's some contrast there. A photograph can't be about everything at once. Something has to become more important than everything else. So I really like that shot as well. Kind of started to connect with her. So after that, we then headed over to Piccadilly to get some different shots. And I wanted to centralise our location. So here we are in Piccadilly. She's taking a moment again. So I've said I'm going to go off for a little walk around. But then she's had another vape or a smoke or whatever she was. I can't remember what it was exactly. But she's just been herself. And I walked around the railings and I thought, oh God, there's a shot. So there she is, sat on the edge with the railings. She's just fitting into the city, London City, and around her, the whole square is blurred into motion. The crowd just simply walked past. And for me, it was an iconic shot. I really love the shot. I turned it to black and white because I thought it would really work. And here you can see I've muted the highlights to give a little bit of definition in the picture. I would have done the one shot and moved on, but I couldn't do that. I had to find more shots where we get later in the day. I've thought about this frame quite a bit, actually. Is it something that captivates? But she's, once again, she's not engaged with me. She's totally absorbed by London city life. And because it isn't really about London, it's about the quiet space between them, the space between Millie just looking at the location and about London going about its business. And you can't just stage that all the time. You can't light it into being, and you can only recognise it when you see it. So the last shot here is Millie being herself completely, and we happened to get a magical moment where there was nobody just in the background, and I kind of left it for that moment. First of all, because I was scared somebody was going to walk into the shot, and secondly, because I kind of thought it placed Millie in central London. I managed to capture it on a slowish shutter, maybe a 20th, so you got a slight bit of blur, slight bit of movement in it, and I did like it in colour, but I also really loved it in black and white. So the takeaway from this is some moments belong entirely to the subject. So Millie, this is Millie's moment, being herself, showing her personality in the city. And I really love this, and I really love it in black and white. I don't think I've ever arrived at a location quite the same way. I've always been prepared. I've always had this mindset that I'm going here to do this and let's work with that. Whether I was photographing a fashion campaign, a commercial commission, or an editorial assignment, clients would often take me somewhere that I had an idea, and I'd be following a mood board. This was rough, this was raw, this was on the street photography, but not waiting for the moment in terms of somebody walking into the shot, waiting for the moment that was right between me and the subject. The TRIOME system that I work along, and I'm teaching at the moment, the TRIOME, what's working in this shot, the highlight on the face draws me in, triangle of the coat spinning drew me in, and I kind of felt that this was a brilliant exercise. You should go out into the street with somebody that you know, engage with them, take them somewhere, but don't direct them. So if you like this, I'll see you on there. I'm James, see you on the next one.
Falls across a table. The dirt